Hello and welcome to SFPE's Best Practice Chapter Webinars. My name is Julie Gordon, the SFPE Membership and Chapter Relations Manager. I will serve as today's webinar moderator. Please note all participants are on mute. However, we do encourage you to send in your questions via the chat box located on your control panel. These will be collected and addressed at the conclusion of the presentation. Today's presenters are Jeffrey Demain of Fire Risk Management, Inc. and Andrew Woodward of ARIP, both representing the New England chapter. They will be presenting Developing a Fully Utilizing a Chapter Website. At this time, I will turn over the presentation to Jeff.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Jeff Demain from Fire Risk Management. Andrew Woodward is also going to be presenting. Just a little back story on us. Both of us have been past presidents of SFP New England chapter, and I have been a past treasurer, which will come into play when you go through the presentation. There we go. So our website, what we use it for currently, we're getting information out to our members, and the majority of our use for our website is for event registration and for membership registration and maintaining the database of all their information. Then comes all the add-ons, the processing of payments, financial management, some reports, emails back and forth between members and the board, and also getting and receiving payments for the events. But the majority of our uses for our website is that event registration and membership registration and database. So some information on what we had before. We had no real control of our website. It was someone else was maintaining it for us. We had really no control of our database. Again, we got a printout, and we had to chase members to make sure that their information was correct almost every year. And then we had to send out manual event notices. So those three things got us to thinking about changing the way we did business for New England chapter, and we decided to look around and find out what we could use for this. And what we came up with was Wild Apricot. There are a couple other host applications out there. This is the one we chose, which provides the majority of the things that we needed to have this integrated website. So as for Wild Apricot, it's an integrated hosted online membership management system, and what it does, it automates several of the chapter activities that we do. Membership renewal notices are automatic. Every year they go out. There's reminders. The event announcements also by email with some reminders. There's real-time access for board members for that for the information, whether it's the how many people are at an event or even the membership information, their address, phone number, etc. So when we looked into it, this was their pricing, Wild Apricot's pricing, and one of the things that went into the decision-making of using Wild Apricot. And you can see that, you know, it's very reasonable for a monthly membership for this type of service. So we had to, you know, when we what does it cost exercise here, we had to make some assumptions just to show you what it would cost for an annual cost for the service and what you get. So, you know, if you had chapter dues of $20 and you have credit card fees, etc., and domain registration. So you do the math, and really, if you have 15 members, your annual fee basically pays for itself with 15 members, and that's just the annual dues, no other event income, no other donations, etc. So it's pretty reasonable, and this is kind of why we went with it. So this is what our website looks like, the back of house website to see how many contacts are in the database, how many members, donors, all these things are in the background, and that any board member could get to. And as you can see on the top, there's contacts, web pages, events, members. So all of those things went into this Wild Apricot, which is very user-friendly. Being a not very good web designer myself, I was even able to modify events, modify pages to be able to fix these things. It's basically all you're doing is fixing a Word document. So this is our front page, and as you can see, it has just a standard welcome, and all the events were down on the right. We have the ability to post information in a rolling blog. The upcoming events will update as much as you put in. It will show, and then you can show your corporate sponsors on the left to show give them the due that they deserve for providing donations to your chapter. And again, changing and updating this is very simple. It's basically changing a Word document. As I said, it's basically you're not going in and doing coding or anything fancy like that. It's basically typing and changing some words. It's very simple. This is one of the reasons we went with Wild Apricot. So here's one of the event registrations that just an example of you change the date, you change the wording, and it's ready to go. And here's another example of how we keep up to date and change the website, change the registrations, where you can modify and add different levels of people as part of your event. So you can have an AHJ that doesn't have to pay anything. You can have guests, members, and have different payments, and that all ties back to the database that's updated by the members when they register and when they pay their annual dues. So there's just, again, it's some more back of house listings of what our website is used for, and you can see we can keep track of members, SFP international contacts, and all that ties into being able to see who's signing up for memberships, who hasn't paid their dues. All of those things is readily found in the database that is set up for us. Oh, there we go. And here's the automated membership renewals, which is, again, we have the membership will get renewal emails once a year, and then about every month after that, they'll get another email if they haven't paid. As part of this, we have different membership levels where we're able to say, would you like to pay for all of the events throughout the year for one price? And then that way, if they can, they don't need, say, 8 approvals for fees. If they need to get approvals to go to the membership, to go to the chapter meetings, they just need to get 1. We decided to go that way just to make it simple for a lot of people to be able to just pay it once and pay for the membership, pay for all your events all the year. Then they would just register during the year for the chapter meetings. Here's an example of a financial report that we've been able to get through the Wild Apricot website. You can see the event fees and how much we get in each year per month. We use QuickBooks as well, this downloads to QuickBooks, so we can use that to then balance our checkbook, balance our savings accounts, things like that, and also be able to send that information off to the accountant when it's tax filing season. So everything kind of ties together. So through Wild Apricot, you're able to send emails back and forth, and what you needed was just a web email to be able to send and receive. So we used Google Apps and got a Gmail account. Again, it provides some mailboxes. Each mailbox can have multiple addresses. So now we have the president, vice president, second vice president, and secretary and treasurer all have their own emails. Those are all tied into the website, which then go to Gmail, which then gets forwarded to the person's individual email, whether it would be mine or to Andrew's or whoever was that officer at the time. Again, it shows a little bit more continuity when you're always sending an email to the president of SFPE New England.org. You're always going to send it to that person, and in the back of house, it gets forwarded to wherever it needs to go. So that's, and then we also registered the domain through Google, and that way it all ties together with Wild Apricot and Google and Gmail. To process the payments for those events and for membership, the Wild Apricot supports Authorize.net, Google Checkout, or PayPal. We used PayPal only because it was, I believe it was the easiest one to get onto, the least complicated. And again, nothing's for free, so you have to pay those, pay the fees for those services. And we used to have to manually put in credit cards through QuickBooks and charge it through QuickBooks anytime we wanted to process a credit card. Now everything is done by the user, whoever's signing up for the registration for the event. They're doing all the processing. Saves us from transposing numbers and missing things while we're typing in that credit card information. Also keeps everything a little bit more secure. And Andrew's going to take over from here.
Thanks, Jeff, and welcome everyone. As Jeff alluded to, he was the treasurer of the chapter during the transition, and I was the first vice president at the time, responsible for organizing the programs. So after a couple months of organizing the programs, our previous way of collecting registrations was we'd mail out an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper as a notice. And if someone was going to attend the meeting, they would handwrite that out and send that back to the first vice president. So I was responsible for setting up the speakers, coordinating with the venue, but also keeping track of who registered and who was going to attend the meeting. And on these faxed registration forms, they were including the credit card information. So I thought the chapter was a little vulnerable for fraud, and that was 5 years ago. This day and age, with the amount of credit fraud, that wouldn't be an acceptable business practice, and open up our chapter to a lot of risks. So just want to go through some of the benefits of the upgrade. We were managing our own website that was designed by someone about 10 years before Jeff and I became on the board. It was managed by a third party most of the time, but we were also going through some staffing challenges with that third party. So when I was the program coordinator, I ended up having to edit the HTML files directly on the web server, upload the files to the web server, to make any changes, to post any event notices. So at least one thing is I had some programming expertise. If I didn't have that programming expertise, you know, we wouldn't have been as efficient as processing that. Our current payment system wasn't online, so we received everything through faxes. In a trial case, we did an online shopping cart, but we found that we still had the credit card transaction fees. It was another system to maintain and keep updated. And we also found a lot of people were registering for discounted pricing. So they were signing up saying that they were a member of our chapter, but they were not a member of the chapter. I'll touch back on more of that later on. The event registration, the notices were mailed by a third party. There was a significant cost to printing and mailing the programs. We received sponsorships to cover those costs, but at the time we were spending between $300 and $400 per month mailing our monthly notices. There was a significant cost impact to the chapter. And then collecting and processing payments. The program chair would collect the registration forms. They'd bring them to the board meeting just before the meeting, and that would get passed along to the treasurer, and the treasurer a couple days later would process the payments. So with the Wild Apricot system, a majority of the payments are collected online without any interaction from the board members. It's simplified the amount of time that's needed. And then all notices are emailed instantaneously. So it's relieved the board from a lot of work. If you could just move to the next slide, Jeff. So again, the transition, we moved to Wild Apricot back on June 1st, 2009, so over 5 years ago. It's been successful since then, but it was really key. We notified the membership early on, probably 6 months before we even thought about doing the transition, because one, you know, we had a diverse audience. We had people that were fresh out of college. We also had a lot of student members from WPI. But we also had individuals that were near retirement, and their computer skills may not have been the best. So we reached out to all the membership. We surveyed the members. We spoke to members during the monthly meetings, and passing to get their buy-in. overwhelmingly, the membership was for moving to an online system, something that they could just log in at their own time and register for an event or change their contact information. Seems like a lot of people, we were finding that our mailing list was always out of date, and every mailing we'd have 20 event registrations that would come back because the individual had moved to a new job or it is no longer in the industry. It's also increased attendance at our events. It's a lot. Every time a person registers for an event, it keeps track of that registration, and we'll continue to email people to keep them in the loop of our new events. So that's improved in attendance considerably. It's also improved the chapter cash flow. Before, we didn't process the payments until after the event. Now we're processing and receiving the cash 3 to 4 days after the person completes the online form. So instead of making sure we have to have the cash available in our checking account before the event, most of the time the cash is already there to cut a check for the venue. And just to put it in perspective, after we've made the transition, we've been processing between $45,000 and $55,000 annually. So it's a significant amount of cash flow for the chapter. Majority of those transactions are between $40 and $60. So if you do the math, there's a lot of transactions that would need to be entered in to QuickBooks for a chapter our size. If we could just move on, Jeff. So our membership renewal notices, as I mentioned, and as Jeff mentioned, are sent out via email. Before, we were mailing hard copies of the notices. We'd have to follow up with a third party to poke them and prod them before they mail them out. This is all programmed in, so you basically set it and forget it. Each year, as you change membership or board members, it's always, when do I need to send out notices? Well, the Wild Apricot system completely takes care of that. We do an annual renewal, so as of, our renewals are considered past, or our chapter year goes from June 1st through May 31st. So to split up the renewal fees, so it hits in the financial year. Middle of June, we start sending out an email reminding people to renew their dues. Middle of July, we send a second reminder. Early August, we send a third reminder that they need to pay their dues. And then middle of August, we send a fourth notice to give them a final reminder, make sure they're still interested in being a member of the chapter. But if we don't receive payment, they won't be eligible to receive discounted event registration pricing. And it's been really efficient. We don't really lose that many members on an annual basis. And then another added benefit is the event notices. They're all distributed by email. The form that Jeff mentioned on the website, the email is scripted, so it pulls from the fields that were filled out in that event form setup screen. It scripts it into an email and then sends it out on a predetermined schedule. So you don't need to remember, I need to log in to send out this email notice a couple days before the event, or I need to send it out a month before the event. Once you set the schedule up and set the event up, the computer system takes care of that. And everyone gets busy. A lot of our chapter board members are extremely busy, so stuff would slip through the cracks. So this had eliminated that, which greatly improved meeting attendance. The website, it's always a challenge. It's always difficult to keep updated. So one thing that we really like with the Wild Apricot site is they have these widget tools that look at the event registrations, any blog posts, and then they pull the current information into the main web page, the first landing page that people attempt to. So a person coming to our website on a frequent basis, they see it and they see that it's always changing, but it's not adding any work to the board members to do that work. Processing. Membership renewals are primarily completed online at the convenience of the members. Everything's automated online, from payment processing to tracking when the membership renewals are done. It's made the job of our second VP, the membership person, extremely easy. Then they could focus their time on chasing people that hadn't paid their dues, instead of making sure the notices were being sent out at the appropriate time, and spending time chasing the good members that would, might have forgotten to pay, but or they lost the invoice. It allows them to focus that time, so it's helped increase membership retainage. Another benefit is the event registration, as any member of the board can log into the website and see who's registered for the event, but also download a list that can be used as a mail merge to generate name tags for the event. It doesn't put everything onto that program share. You can distribute the workload out to someone else, but it's always a challenge of someone, the old way of tracking with pen and paper. Only one person knew who was coming to the event, but when I took over and moved up to president, it was good reassurance, because I could log in at a week before the event, see how many people had registered, and maybe we needed to reach out and do some more marketing to increase attendance. So I think that moves into the next slide about access to our chapter information. As Jeff alluded to before, we were using a third party to maintain the membership list. We were lucky to get a copy of that membership once a month. Most of the time, it was like pulling teeth to get it every once a quarter, and there were numerous errors. The online system's taken that out. New members can easily join. They don't need to worry about downloading a form, faxing a form in, contacting one of the board members. They can log in at any time, enter their contact information, and become a member. And then an added benefit is members can access online member directory. And when we first rolled the system out, I didn't think it would be used that much. There's a little bit of hesitation about on the board, but I actually had someone contact me that worked with my father back 20, 25 years ago, and he's like, I'm a member of the chapter, and noticed your name was Woodward, and are you related to Bruce? And it actually helped my dad reconnect with him, and so I think it was a very beneficial and useful tool. And then that real-time information for all of the board members and officers. Everybody is on the same page with how the membership's doing. Instead of following up to see where everything is and contacting each individual people, it makes the president's job easy, but it also makes it easy to have other board members help out with the chapter finances and other aspects. So a few things on the chapter funds. As I mentioned earlier, we receive the money before the events occur. Eliminates lost revenue for no-shows. Previously, we weren't charging people if they didn't show up for the event. And that ended up costing our chapter a lot of money. We were not making money off of our monthly events because of no-shows. It doesn't take, when you have an average attendance of around 30, if you have a couple and you're not making that much of a profit on the event, a few people not attending, you can lose a lot, lose money. And the only way to pay for that is from other events, our annual seminar, or from the membership dues. reduces the amount of reserves that are required in our checking account because we've got the money before the event. And an interesting statistic is most of our transactions, the Wild Apricot does offer an option where people can pay by check, or it's a manual transaction. But after getting the system online and operational, we found over 95% of our transactions were paid for by credit card. And in the grand scheme of things, transaction fees are minimal. They're 2 to 3%, but it makes the workload so much easier for the treasurer. So how do we do it? We signed up for Wild Apricot. They offer a 30-day trial. We started populating the Wild Apricot site primarily just as a test for our internal board members. We signed up for a domain. We use Google, but GoDaddy, there's several options that are out there to register a domain name. We found it really useful to also do email and have a email forwarding. Made it a lot easier for our members. We signed up for the PayPal account. I would plan accordingly. It will take a little bit of time to set that up because if your chapter is a nonprofit, you need to provide some additional information. And then you configure the Wild Apricot for the domain name and PayPal to accept credit cards. So anyone without a computer or with limited computer experience could set up a Wild Apricot site. They also offer a lot of tutorials to make it easy, step-by-step guides. So it's really user-friendly. Their support's been very supportive too through the transition. So just wrapping up, we'll include a link on this next slide to our website, the sfpe-newengland.org. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Andrew Woodward, at ARIP, andrew.woodward@arip.com, or Jeff DeMaine, Jeff D. at Fire Risk Management, or also the current president at president at sfpe-newengland.org. And then we'll just open the floor up for any questions.
Oh, goodness. Okay, sorry. We do have a few questions here. The first one is, when you sign up for the service, do you get how to use instructions? Also, how is the billing done? Annually, monthly, or automatic?
Yep, so the Wild Apricot system, they have extensive help guides. I think it's help.wildapricot.org. It's a step-by-step tutorial for each event screen. And then the cost, you can either do a monthly fee, or they also offer an annual prepayment, and you're discounted. I think you receive a 10% discount if you do the prepayment option. So it's good because it can spread out the costs, depending on the size of your chapter. I mean, some chapters may not have a sufficient reserve to write a big check to cover that expense.
Okay, and the only other question is in reference to some logistics, and I'll be able to answer that. First, I would like to thank both Jeff and Andrew for their time for presenting the first 2015 Chapters Best webinar. I will send out the PDF of the presentation and also post this to our YouTube site. I will send out the links to both of those to all chapter presidents. So if you need anything or you don't receive that, please feel free to give me a call. I'll get that out in the next few days. Other than that, I would like to again thank you for your time and your support, and have a great day.